Hey everyone, my name is Brad. Today I'm going to talk about burnout in medicine and how I avoided it. Well, that's easy to say when I just came back from vacation, but it's the first vacation that I've taken in about 2.5 years. It feels like half the posts that I read are about quitting medicine, getting out of medicine, moving on to something else. I remember my breaking point whenever I realized I was completely burnt out. The hospital that I used to work for was undergoing a shift. Basically, we lost the contract with the hospital. Another group called Team Health came in, got the contract, and there was a little bit of friction behind the scenes of what was going on as the contract was switching from our group taking all the admissions to Team Health taking all the admissions. That's not the point of this. That's not what led me to burnout. I remember as that transitioning was happening, though, even before the transition, that I had to meet certain metrics. And metrics are not necessarily a bad thing. You always have to measure something to figure out where you're at and where you need to go forward. It's when metrics are applied in my opinion, a very stupid way that leads to a lot of burnout and frustration. For example, I remember one day they told me that I needed to discharge 50% of all my patients. The discharge order has to be in the chart by 10:30. I think if I hit that goal, I got something like a $200 bonus that quarter. It was basically throwing a little bit of money our way. Well, we started hitting those metrics very easily. So the goalpost kept moving 10:30, 9:30, 8:30. Eventually 7:30. And one day I came in and I think I was getting to the hospital somewhere around 5:30 in the morning. And I came into the hospital and I had a meeting around lunchtime. And at that meeting, there was this administrator that was telling me that I didn't really meet my metrics this month because not 50% of all my discharges were put in by 7:30 that morning. I remember sitting there feeling like I was in office space dealing with those stupid TPS reports. Everyone knows what they were doing. They're trying to get patients out the door. And if you get patients out the door, you can bill by midnight. So if another patient can get in that room before midnight, the insurance company pays for the entire 24 hours. Doesn't matter if it's 11:58 p.m., the insurance company pays for that entire day stay. So technically you could double bill for every room in the hospital. It's what we like to call throughput in hospital medicine. Being efficient, getting patients out early, look, that has a lot of good benefits associated with it. However, hounding me and creating these arbitrary values that I needed to wake up super early, put in a discharge order, and get patients out the door. Eventually, by the time I had this meeting with this person that had to be 23 years old, telling me that I wasn't hitting my metric, I couldn't help but think in that last meeting that I had with them, I never saw you in the hospital before 8 a.m. Funny how that works. I'm basically being told to work harder for them, to make more money for them, and I saw none of the benefits, and I was missing time with my family. I was being stressed out. I was waking up early to do it. And yeah, I was making a pretty good income doing it, working 7 days a week and then having 7 days off. But at the same time, I was also still working 80-hour weeks, just like I was a resident, which is hard work. So I think that's when I finally broke down and said, screw it, I'm going and doing my own thing. And that's when I started my own practice. Now, I think owning your own practice is not this rainbow that's there and everything's better on the other side of it. Any of you who have been following my blog know that there's a lot of heartache and headaches that come along with owning your own practice. The benefit with it is that you can set your boundaries and you can set how you want to practice medicine. So that way, if something's bothering you, you can take a step back and say, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. The only people you have to answer to are yourself and the patient. Now, practicing medicine still has its issues. I've talked about it in other ones. But overall, getting away from metric-based practice of medicine, of hitting these stupid discharge metrics, or trying to bill a certain amount of complex visits and upcoding in a certain way where I'm not doing it illegally, but have to document in a certain way to get the most revenue out of it. I just didn't want to live that life anymore, which is why I decided to start my own thing. The biggest return on investment any physician is going to have is their longevity in medicine and their ability to take an income through practicing medicine. It's going to be really hard to do any side gig, no matter what it is, and creating a 6-figure guaranteed income where you're in high demand like a physician. The average person graduates $250,000 in debt. Paying that off over time, that's an investment, right? These physicians that feel so burnt out that they have to quit medicine altogether after 5 years, that really just pains me, breaks my heart. And honestly, I think that the answer to the solution is often not necessarily quitting medicine entirely. It's recognizing the problem before it boils up to feeling like you have to quit medicine entirely and asking yourself, how can I make a change so that I'm not going to burn out? I think like many things in life, you have to put it in 2 categories, the must and the wants. What must you have in your life in order to practice medicine? And what is something that you would like to have practicing medicine? Now, I don't know about for you, but for me, waking up and not seeing my family, sometimes being at the hospital for 16 hours a day and then having a meeting about why I didn't hit some arbitrary discharge metric, that wasn't the life I was going to live, which is why I quit. But I didn't quit medicine entirely. I switched over to doing my own practice. Looking back, if I would have done it all over again, I think I probably would have signed up with some sort of IPA or another group that I could basically have my own franchise and not have the headache of starting from total scratch and honestly spending the hundreds of hours and just basically building out all my protocols and everything from scratch. That was difficult, took a lot of time, and it was a lot of stress. I try to have a good balance. Now I'm trying to take some vacation time, which is good. I'm also trying to separate work and life a little bit better. I think there's a lot of physicians out there who are realizing that you don't have to do medicine the way that you don't want to do it. For example, there's a lot of ER docs that I know that are opening up their own freestanding ER or have opened their own freestanding ER. What I am highlighting is that you have to think, put yourself first. How can I avoid burnout? How do I want to practice medicine that is going to make myself satisfied, my patients satisfied, and have the most longevity in a career that hopefully you still love, because hopefully you went into medicine loving the actual career and not just the salary, because clearly you can burn out real easy if you just go for the money. All right, you guys, hope you all have a good day. See y'all next week. Bye.